Right, so today we are diving into something pretty unexpected. We are going to be talking about tobacco.
Okay.
But before you think we've gone crazy, we're not talking about smoking.
Right.
We are going way beyond that. We're going to be exploring the compounds in tobacco that have scientists kind of baffled.
Yeah.
Like they are intrigued, they are interested, there's a lot of potential there.
Absolutely.
Our source for this deep dive is a fascinating scientific review. It's from Frontiers in Pharmacology. It was published fairly recently, April 2024.
Okay.
And it dives deep, no pun intended, into the potential medical uses of this plant, tobacco.
It is interesting because tobacco, when you think of it, you don't picture a medicine cabinet, right?
No, absolutely not.
Like, what is going on here?
It's the last thing you think of.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to unpack in this deep dive, like why researchers are kind of looking at tobacco in a whole new light.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we found really interesting is that tobacco actually has a history of being used medicinally in cultures worldwide.
It's true. Native Americans, for instance, considered tobacco a sacred herb, so they used it for various ailments. We are talking bronchitis, toothaches, wounds, snake bites, you name it.
Are you serious? Snake bites.
All kinds of stuff.
I mean, that's wild. That is so different from everything we hear today.
It really is. And you know what's fascinating, too, is ancient Chinese medicine, they also documented tobacco being used, but they used if for things like pain relief, inflammation, even for digestion.
Oh, wow. See, this is blowing my mind a little bit. So, like, how does the modern research connect to these historical practices?
So the review, it really highlights specific compounds that are found in tobacco. Nicotine, as controversial as it is, that's a big one.
Nicotine. Okay, isn't that the part of tobacco that's like the addictive part?
It is. And that's what is really interesting is that while it is highly addictive in the amounts that you get from smoking, nicotine in very carefully controlled low doses is being looked at. And there's potential that it could actually treat some really, really serious diseases.
Okay. Now you got my attention. So what kind of diseases are we talking here?
Well, let's start with neurodegenerative diseases. So think Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, these are devastating conditions. And what's really promising is that nicotine, it might be able to protect nerve cells, maybe even slow down or even stop, potentially, the progression of these diseases.
Wow, so how does nicotine work in the brain to potentially do that?
Well, it interacts with what are called nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. We'll just call them ACE-CRs for short.
Catchy?
Right.
I think
So these receptors, they're involved in a lot of different brain functions. So we're talking memory, learning, movement. And in Alzheimer's disease, there's a buildup of this protein called amyloid beta, which forms plaques in the brain. And what these plaques do is they kind of mess up how the nerve cells can actually communicate with each other. And so nicotine, it looks like it might be able to reduce the production of that protein and maybe even help clear out some of those plaques.
So it's like cleaning up the brain, cleaning up the clutter.
Exactly.
I like it.
And in Parkinson's disease, there's a loss of nerve cells that produce dopamine, which is really important for movement control. And nicotine seems to protect these dopamine-producing cells.
That's incredible. Are there human trials going on right now with this?
There have been some small-scale studies with humans, and the early results, they're promising.
Okay.
For example, one study, it showed Alzheimer's patients who wore nicotine patches. They had some improvements in their memory and thinking.
Okay, so there's some hope on the horizon.
Yeah.
But you said that the benefits go beyond just neurodegenerative diseases.
Absolutely. Nicotine is also being investigated as a potential anti-inflammatory agent.
Anti-inflammatory. So you're talking about like arthritis and things like that.
You got it. Things like ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, even sepsis, multiple sclerosis. We're talking about conditions where your body's immune system is basically attacking itself.
That's a very diverse range of conditions. So how does nicotine, how does it target inflammation in so many different parts of the body?
Well, it all boils down to this connection between our nervous system and our immune system. So nicotine, through interacting with those NHERs we talked about earlier, it can actually influence the production of what are called cytokines.
Cytokines.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
But basically, they are signaling molecules that tell the body's immune system what to do and when to do it.
Okay.
So in a way, nicotine is kind of like this master communicator telling the immune system to kind of calm down when it starts to overreact.
Okay, that is wild. So are we talking about using things like nicotine patches again for this type of treatment?
It could be one way to deliver it, but the research is still ongoing, and we really need to carefully evaluate the long-term safety and effectiveness before we start seeing nicotine prescriptions.
Yeah. Caution is definitely key, especially with something like this. This is all so fascinating. Are there any other potential benefits that they are looking at with nicotine?
This one might surprise you, but nicotine has also sparked some interest for its potential in weight loss.
Wait, what? The addictive chemical in cigarettes might help with weight loss. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? But it has to do with how nicotine interacts with our brain and our bodies. Essentially, nicotine can suppress appetite.
Yeah.
It acts on certain parts of the brain that regulate hunger and fullness, making you feel less hungry.
So it can, like, trick your brain into thinking it's full.
In a way, yeah. And that's not all. Nicotine has also been shown to boost metabolism, meaning your body burns more calories even at rest. And it's thought to be linked to how nicotine stimulates the release of adrenaline, which then increases energy expenditure.
So it's a double whammy on those extra calories.
Exactly.
So, I mean, are you telling me we are going to be prescribed cigarettes for weight loss?
Absolutely not. Smoking, like we've talked about, it is incredibly harmful.
Right.
And the risks far outweigh any sort of potential weight loss benefit. The idea here is to harness the potential of nicotine, but in a controlled way.
Right.
So likely through non-smoking methods, think patches, gum, maybe even nasal sprays.
That makes a lot more sense.
Right.
This is honestly groundbreaking stuff. But I have to ask, are there ethical concerns around using something as addictive as nicotine for weight loss?
Absolutely. The potential for addiction is a major concern. And, if any future weight loss treatments were to involve nicotine, it would need to be approached extremely carefully. Rigorous safety protocols and monitoring would have to be put in place.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. It sounds like it has a lot of potential, but also a lot of cautions with it as well.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about nicotine, but tobacco, the plant itself, doesn't just contain nicotine, right? So what else are we looking at here?
You're absolutely right. There's a whole other kind of symphony of compounds in tobacco that researchers are investigating for their potential health benefits.
Okay, so now we are going down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
I am here for it. Tell me more.
So one of them is called solanesol.
Solanesol. Okay. What's so special about it?
Well, solanesol is found in abundance in tobacco, and it's got some amazing properties. It's a powerful antioxidant, so it can actually protect your cells from damage caused by free radicals.
Free radicals, those are the things that kind of like, they damage cells, right?
You got it. I mean,
time.
they're those unstable molecules that can wreak havoc.
Yeah.
And solanesol doesn't stop there. It's also got anti-inflammatory properties, making it a potential player in treating some of those inflammatory diseases that we were just discussing.
It's like a twofer. It fights free radicals and inflammation.
That's right.
That's impressive.
That's not all. Research suggests that solanesol might protect the liver.
Okay. Well, liver protection, that's always a good thing, especially these days. What else?
There's even some early evidence suggesting it might have neuroprotective effects similar to nicotine, but of course we need more research to know for sure.
Oh, wait.
But it's looking promising.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
It's like this solanesol can multitask
It can.
in the world of potential therapeutic compounds. But you had mentioned earlier that it's being used to make other drugs as well.
It is. So it's a key ingredient in making some pretty critical medications. One is coenzyme Q10, otherwise known as CoQ10.
CoQ10, yeah. That's like, people take that as a supplement, right?
They do.
For like heart health and energy.
You got it. CoQ10, it's a powerful antioxidant. It's essential for the function of our mitochondria, the powerhouses of our cells.
Right.
And it's used to treat certain heart conditions, like heart failure, for example.
So this humble compound from tobacco is indirectly helping treat major medical conditions.
It is.
That's wild. Okay, what else is on the list?
Another one is vitamin K2. It plays a key role in bone health, blood clotting.
Vitamin K, right? Helps with calcium.
You got it. Vitamin K2 basically makes sure that calcium ends up in our bones and teeth and not in our arteries where it can cause problems.
Oh, okay. So we've got nicotine, we've got solanesol, both with unique properties, lots of potential medical applications. What other tobacco compounds are on the radar for their potential health benefits?
Now we are getting into the world of symbranoid terpenes.
Symbranoid-terpenes. Okay, those are some pretty intense scientific terms. Break those down for me. What are they?
They sound kind of intimidating, but they're naturally occurring compounds.
Okay.
And you find them in a variety of different plants, including tobacco. And what's really interesting is that some of these symbranoid terpenes have shown some really remarkable potential, especially when it comes to fighting cancer.
Okay, cancer. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Cancer's a big one. So any potential new tools in our arsenal are definitely good news. So tell me more about these cancer-fighting sembrynoid deterpents.
Two of the most studied ones are alpha-CBT-diol and beta-CBT-diol.
You have to repeat those.
You do not need to remember those names.
Okay.
What's important is what they do. And research indicates that both of these compounds can inhibit the growth of cancer cells, stop them from spreading.
That is huge. So what types of cancers are we talking about here?
Studies have shown really promising results in breast cancer, liver cancer, and prostate cancer.
That's a pretty impressive track record. How are they working to fight these cancers?
They seem to have a few tricks up their sleeve. So in breast cancer, for example, alpha-CBT-diol. It seems to work by inhibiting angiogenesis.
Angiogenesis, remind me what that is again?
Yeah, angiogenesis is the formation of new blood vessels, which tumors need to grow and spread.
Right.
So it essentially cuts off their supply line.
I like it. Starve those cancer cells out.
Exactly. And in liver cancer, research shows that it triggers apoptosis, which is basically programmed cell death, but in the cancer cells.
Okay.
So it sends a self-destruct signal to those tumor cells.
That's amazing. Talk about target therapy. What about beta-CBT-diol? What's its specialty?
Beta-CBT-diol, it looks like it might be particularly good at preventing cancer from recurring.
Oh, so it's like the cleanup crew making sure that none of those cancer cells try to stage a comeback.
Exactly. Studies show that it can actually inhibit the recurrence of prostate cancer cells even after the initial tumor is removed.
That's amazing. Are these sembrynoid deterpents, are they being used in cancer treatments yet?
Not yet. While the research is really, really encouraging, it's still early.
Okay.
We need more research to fully understand how safe and effective they are in humans.
Right, so those clinical trials are definitely important, but it sounds like they have the potential to be real game changers.
They really do.
Down the road.
They do. And it's not just cancer where these sembrynoid deterpents are showing promise.
Okay.
They also appear to have neuroprotective effects as well.
Wait, really? So they're another multitasker like solanesol?
Exactly. And specifically, beta-CBT-diol has been studied for its potential to protect brain cells from damage caused by stroke, Alzheimer's disease, and Parkinson's disease.
Hold on. I'm trying to keep up. So it might be able to fight cancer and protect the brain.
Yeah.
What is this magic? Like, how does it do all of that?
Well, it appears to work by reducing inflammation in the brain, which we know is a big culprit in a lot of those neurodegenerative diseases.
Mm-hmm.
It also seems to protect brain cells from damage caused by what's called oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress. Okay. Break that down for me. What is that?
Oxidative stress is essentially an imbalance in the body where you have too many free radicals and there aren't enough antioxidants to kind of neutralize them.
Right.
And it's another big player in brain aging and those brain diseases.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this beta-CBT-diol is like a superhero, protecting our brains from all those villains like inflammation and oxidative stress.
That's a great way to put it.
I like it. Okay, so these sembrynoid diterpenes are already multitasking.
They are.
What else can they do?
It also looks like they have antimicrobial properties,
Okay.
which means they can inhibit the growth of bacteria and fungi.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah,
These compounds are like the Swiss Army knives of the natural world.
I know.
They are fighting cancer. They're protecting the brain. They're taking down microbes. Is there anything they can't do?
Right. It's definitely an exciting area of research, and it seems like the more we learn about these compounds, the more potential benefits we find.
I could only imagine. This is truly remarkable. Okay, so this deep dive has already kind of uncovered a lot of potential avenues for using compounds from tobacco, treating various diseases. But I have to ask, what else are scientists looking into when it comes to the potential medical uses of tobacco? Like, what else are they exploring?
One area that's receiving a lot of attention right now is the use of tobacco extracts.
Tobacco extracts. Okay, so we're talking about substances that are taken directly from the tobacco plant.
Yes, exactly. And there are different types, each with its own kind of unique properties, potential uses. One that's showing some promise is acidic ethyl acetate extract.
Acidic ethyl acetate extract. That's a mouthful.
It is a tongue twister.
It is a tongue twister.
But what's really remarkable about this specific extract is it's got this really broad spectrum antimicrobial activity. Essentially, it can stop the growth of a wide range of bacteria and fungi, even some that are resistant to our conventional antibiotics.
Wow. You're talking about antibiotic resistance,
That's right.
which is a huge problem that we're facing right now.
It's a significant problem, and it's why researchers are really excited about this, because it could be like a new line of defense against these superbugs.
That's incredible. So how does it work against these microbes? How does it actually do that?
It seems to target several mechanisms that bacteria and fungi need to survive. So, for example, it can disrupt the formation of their cell walls, which leaves them vulnerable. It can also interfere with their ability to replicate, essentially preventing them from multiplying.
It's like throwing a wrench into their entire system.
Exactly.
So smart. Besides antimicrobial activity, are there any other potential uses for this extract?
Actually, yes. It's also a very powerful hemostatic agent.
Hemostatic agent. What does that even mean?
It means that it can help stop bleeding by promoting blood clotting, which can be really important in situations where someone's experiencing excessive bleeding.
Wow. So it's a double threat in the world of medicine. Fighting infection and stopping bleeding. Amazing. Are there any other tobacco extracts that are showing promise?
There are. One that you might be familiar with is tobacco seed oil.
Tobacco seed oil. Like the kind that I can buy at like a grocery store.
Not quite. While it is extracted from tobacco seeds, it's not the same as the tobacco seed oil that you might see used for like industrial applications.
Right.
This is specifically processed for these potential medical uses.
Ah, okay, I see what you mean. Okay, so what's so special about this medically processed tobacco seed oil?
Well, first of all, it's a great source of healthy fats similar to olive oil or avocado oil.
Okay.
It's full of unsaturated fatty acids, which are beneficial for your heart.
Healthy fat's always a plus. What else you got?
It also has pretty impressive antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties.
Let me guess. From that unique blend of compounds we keep talking about.
You know it.
Amazing.
And there's even more. Some studies are suggesting that tobacco seed oil might even have skin whitening properties.
Skin whitening. Okay, how does that work?
It seems to inhibit melanin production, which is, the pigment that gives our skin its color.
Right.
So it's being explored as a potential ingredient in cosmetics and skincare.
Oh, like a more natural alternative to those harsh chemical skin lightening creams.
Exactly.
Interesting.
What else? It's also being researched for weight loss.
Wait a minute. Another potential weight loss aid from the tobacco plant. What is it about tobacco and weight management?
It's intriguing, right?
Yeah.
And we definitely need more research, but early studies suggest that tobacco seed oil may contribute to weight loss, especially belly fat, and even improve cholesterol levels.
So it's like this multi-pronged approach to getting healthier. Healthy fats, potential weight loss, and even cholesterol-lowering effects.
Right.
Are there any other tobacco extracts that have researchers excited?
There's one more that I want to mention. It's called tobacco blend.
Tobacco blend. Okay, what is that exactly?
It's a unique combination of different parts of the tobacco plant, so it's kind of like a recipe.
Oh, yeah.
And what they found is that when this blend is given to mice, something really interesting happens.
All right, I'm on the edge of my seat.
The mice lose weight.
Okay.
And they do this without any changes to their diet or how much they exercise.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
Just from, like, eating this tobacco blend, the mice lost weight.
It's pretty incredible.
That's wild.
And it doesn't stop there. The mice also showed improvements in their metabolism. They had less inflammation.
So it's like this holistic approach to weight loss and just overall health improvement.
It seems to be.
I am fascinated by this.
It's really interesting.
What exactly is in this tobacco blend?
So it's a mix of leaves, stems, and roots from the plant. And it seems that maybe the combination of all these different compounds working together is what creates these beneficial effects.
So the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
Okay, I am here for it. Is this something that could be developed into like a weight loss treatment for people?
It could be. The research is still pretty new, but what they're finding is really promising.
I'm going to be keeping my eye on this tobacco blend.
Yeah.
It sounds like it could be a game changer for weight management.
It really does. And there's even more to uncover when it comes to tobacco extracts.
Yeah.
So researchers are also really interested in tobacco essential oils.
Tobacco essential oils. Are we talking about like the kind that you would use in aromatherapy?
Not exactly, although they do have a unique aroma.
Okay.
These specific essential oils, they're extracted from tobacco leaves, and they contain this complex mix of what we call volatile compounds.
Volatile meaning that they evaporate easily.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's this mix of volatile compounds that seems to give tobacco essential oils their potential therapeutic benefits.
Okay, this is so cool. So what kind of benefits are we talking about here?
One of the most promising areas of research is in mental health.
Okay.
They're looking into tobacco essential oils for potentially reducing anxiety.
Now, this is really interesting. Tobacco, something that's so often associated with stress and addiction, might actually help reduce anxiety. How does that work?
We're still trying to figure out exactly how it works, but it appears that a specific compound in these oils, called neofetidine, might be responsible for these anxiety-reducing effects.
Neofetidine. Okay, got it.
Uh,
So how does it work?
The exact way it works is still being researched,
Right.
but it seems like it influences neurotransmitters in the brain that regulate mood, things like serotonin and dopamine.
Serotonin, dopamine, those are the feel-good chemicals in our brain.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's this modulation of these neurotransmitters that seem to have these calming, anxiety-reducing effects.
So could we be seeing things like tobacco essential oils used in aromatherapy to help with anxiety?
It's definitely a possibility. Again, the research is still in those early phases,
Right.
but the initial findings are promising.
Okay, I have to ask, are there any other potential benefits from these essential oils?
They also seem to have antimicrobial properties.
Of course they do. Is there anything these compounds can't do?
It seems that way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Okay, so
Yeah.
this deep dive has already we've gone down quite a few rabbit holes here.
We have.
It's amazing how much potential a single plant can have in the world of medicine.
It is. And for so long, tobacco has had this negative association.
Right.
So it's really challenging us to look at things from a different perspective.
It really does.
Yeah.
It seems like we are on the verge of a whole new era of medicine where we are looking to nature, plants like tobacco, for new ways to treat diseases.
Absolutely. There is so much we don't know.
Right.
So much left to discover, and that's what's really exciting about this.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into the unexpected medical potential of tobacco, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay, I'm all ears.
What if, and this is a big what if, we could take plants like tobacco with all of their potential for good and for bad, and we could harness that power for good? What if we could unlock the secrets of nature's medicine cabinet in a way that's both effective and safe?
That's the ultimate goal, isn't it? To use the power of nature to heal, to improve lives.
Yeah.
It's a journey, and it seems like we are just at the beginning.
I love that. To our listeners, keep asking questions, stay curious, be open to the unexpected. The world of science is full of surprises. And who knows, the future of medicine can be found in the most unexpected of places. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of tobacco's medical potential.
It's a balancing act for sure, but the potential benefits are pretty incredible. We were talking about tobacco extracts earlier, and one area where they're showing a lot of promise is in tackling this problem of antibiotic resistance, which is a major health concern these days.
It's true. We hear about that all the time, and it seems like a really tough problem to solve. So how are tobacco extracts kind of being looked at to address this?
So you have these bacteria that are becoming resistant to the antibiotics that we typically use to fight infections. And what's interesting is that these tobacco extracts seem to work in a totally different way than those antibiotics.
Okay.
So instead of directly killing the bacteria, they actually disrupt the bacteria's ability to talk to each other.
Wait a minute. Bacteria can talk to each other.
They do. It's called quorum sensing, and it's basically how bacteria communicate and coordinate their behavior. It's how they know when to kind of launch an attack, so to speak.
So these tobacco extracts are like intercepting their battle plans.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
By blocking that communication, the tobacco extracts can stop the bacteria from forming what are called biofilms.
Biofilms?
Yeah, biofilms. Those are those slimy protective layers that bacteria can create to shield themselves from antibiotics, which makes them even harder to kill.
Oh, okay. So it's like we are stripping away their armor.
You got it. And this is really important in cases where you have infections involving things like medical devices, where those biofilms can be really hard to treat.
That makes sense. So are we using these tobacco extracts in hospitals yet to treat those kinds of infections?
Not just yet. The research is looking really good, but we still need to do more studies to make sure that they are safe and effective for people.
Okay, so more research is needed, but it sounds like these extracts could be game changers when it comes to this problem of antibiotic resistance.
They really could be. And another interesting thing is that these tobacco extracts aren't just effective against bacteria, they've also shown promise in fighting certain fungi, including one called Candida albicans, which is a really common cause of yeast infections.
Oh, Candida albicans. I've definitely heard of that one. Those infections can be really uncomfortable.
They can be. And sometimes those antifungal medications have kind of unpleasant side effects, so having a potential alternative is a big deal, especially one that comes from a natural source.
Yeah, I can see why researchers are kind of excited about that. Okay, so we've got tobacco extracts that can combat drug-resistant bacteria, break down these biofilms, and even tackle these fungal infections. It seems like tobacco has a lot to offer.
It really does. And I think it really highlights just the incredible potential that nature holds for both treating and preventing diseases.
I completely agree. So earlier we were discussing these sembranoid terpenes and their potential for treating these neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. I know we touched on it briefly, but this is an area I would love to explore a bit more.
Of course, neurodegenerative diseases are complex, and we really still don't fully understand them. It's an area where new discoveries are definitely needed.
Absolutely. So where do these sembranoid terpenes kind of fit into all of this?
Well, it appears that they might have multiple ways of protecting the brain.
Okay.
For one thing, they act as really powerful antioxidants,
Okay.
which means they can help neutralize those harmful free radicals that we were talking about before.
Right, those unstable molecules that damage cells, we were talking about that with aging.
Exactly. And those free radicals can do a lot of damage all over the body, but the brain seems particularly vulnerable to that kind of damage.
So these sembranoid terpenes are like the brain's bodyguards.
That's a great way to put it.
I like it.
And their protective powers don't end there. They also have anti-inflammatory properties,
Okay.
which is crucial because we know that inflammation is a huge part of how these neurodegenerative diseases develop and progress.
Right, so they're kind of working to calm everything down. But how do they actually do that? How do they reduce inflammation? I'm really curious about the process.
Well, they seem to influence specific pathways in the brain that control the immune response.
Okay.
So they can basically dial down those inflammatory molecules that are contributing to that damage in the brain.
So they're helping to keep the brain's immune response balanced.
Exactly. And they might even be able to do more than that. Some research suggests that these sembranoid diterpenes could actually boost the production of certain growth factors in the brain.
Growth factors, what are those?
Growth factors, those are like fertilizer for the brain.
Okay.
They help brain cells survive and grow.
Oh, well, that's important for everyone, but especially for people who have these diseases where you have brain cells dying, like Alzheimer's.
Precisely.
Wow. Are there any specific types of sembranoid diterpenes that are looking particularly promising when it comes to treating these diseases?
One that's getting a lot of attention is beta-CBT-diol.
Wait a minute, that name sounds familiar. Didn't we talk about that one earlier with cancer?
You have an amazing memory. It seems like it might be beneficial for both.
So it's a multitasker.
It is.
I like it. What is it doing in the brain to help with these neurodegenerative diseases?
Studies have shown that in animals with conditions similar to stroke and Alzheimer's, beta-CBT-diol reduced brain cell death, and it even seemed to improve their cognitive function.
Okay. Cognitive function, meaning like memory and thinking.
Exactly. And it's not just animal studies. There have been a few very small trials with humans that are showing some promising early results.
Okay, now you've really got my attention. What have those trials shown?
Well, in one study, Alzheimer's patients who were given beta-CBT-diol, they showed improvements in their memory and cognitive function compared to those who received a placebo.
Wow. That's incredible. So are doctors using this beta-CBT-diol as a treatment for Alzheimer's yet?
Not yet. These early results are really promising, but we need those larger clinical trials to be sure that it's safe and it's effective before it becomes any kind of standard treatment.
Yeah, those trials are so important, it makes sense. But it really does sound like this beta-CBT-diol could be a breakthrough when it comes to Alzheimer's.
It has the potential.
Yeah.
And Alzheimer's isn't the only one. It's also showing potential for Parkinson's disease.
Right, Parkinson's. That's the one that affects movement and coordination.
Yes. And studies using animals have shown that beta-CBT-diol might be able to actually protect those dopamine-producing cells that are lost in Parkinson's disease.
Right. Those dopamine cells are essential for movement.
Exactly. By protecting those cells, we might be able to slow down or even stop the progression of Parkinson's disease.
That would be life-changing for so many people. Are there trials for that as well with this compound?
There are some really, really early trials that are just starting out, so it'll be a while before we know those results.
Okay, well, I'll be watching for those for sure. This has been an amazing journey of discovery. So much potential, so much to learn. What's next for this whole field of tobacco-based medicine?
There are a lot of really exciting possibilities on the horizon. One area that's creating a lot of buzz is nanotechnology.
Nanotechnology. So we are talking really, really tiny technology.
Exactly. Imagine this. We could potentially use nanoparticles to deliver these beneficial tobacco compounds directly to where they are needed in the body.
Okay.
So like to the brain, for example, or even directly to a tumor.
Wow. That would be incredible. Like a targeted missile, just delivering the medicine exactly where it needs to go.
Exactly. That's the idea. Maximize the benefits, minimize any side effects.
I like it. What else?
Another area that's gaining some traction is genetic engineering.
Genetic engineering. So you're talking about changing the DNA of the tobacco plant.
Precisely. Imagine if we could modify the tobacco plant so that it produces even more of these beneficial compounds.
Okay.
We could even potentially engineer completely new compounds that have even greater therapeutic potential.
So it's like we could design a custom medicine cabinet right from the plant itself.
It's an incredible field, so much potential.
This whole conversation has really opened my eyes. It's just amazing to think that a plant with such a negative reputation could hold so much promise for treating diseases.
It really goes to show you that nature is full of surprises. And it's a good reminder that we should never underestimate the power of science and research to change lives.
I totally agree. Before we wrap up this section, though, I want to bring up the potential downsides and risks that come with using tobacco, even for medical purposes. We've been talking about the good, but what about the bad?
It's an important point. While the research is really exciting, we can't forget about safety.
Of course. So what are some of those potential risks that we need to be aware of?
Well, one of the big ones, and we've mentioned it a few times now, is the addictive potential of nicotine.
Right, because it is so addictive, any medical use would have to be super carefully controlled to minimize that risk.
Exactly. And on top of that, we have to consider the possibility of toxicity.
Okay.
Some of these tobacco compounds might be beneficial in low doses, but in higher doses, they could be dangerous.
There's that sweet spot again, right?
Yeah.
That perfect dose that's effective but also safe.
Exactly. And that's another reason why those clinical trials are so important, because they help us determine what those ideal doses are.
Okay, so addiction, toxicity, those are two big ones to consider. What else?
We also need to be mindful of how these tobacco compounds might interact with other medications. It's possible that they could interfere with how other drugs work in the body. So, for example, a tobacco compound might make a particular drug more effective, or it could make it less effective.
Okay, so anyone considering using these compounds for medical purposes would absolutely need to talk to their doctor to make sure that it was safe, given their medical history, all of that.
Absolutely. Always best to err on the side of caution.
Great advice. Anything else we need to kind of keep in mind?
Last but not least, we have to remember that people can have allergic reactions, just like they can with any other substance.
Right.
It's possible that some people might be allergic to specific compounds found in tobacco.
So what should people kind of watch out for? What would be signs of an allergic reaction?
Things like skin rashes, itching, difficulty breathing, those would all be reasons to seek medical attention right away.
Okay. It sounds like even though the potential benefits of using these compounds found in tobacco for medicinal purposes are incredibly exciting, we do need to proceed with caution.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that anything we're using to treat diseases is both safe and effective. That has to be our top priority.
Absolutely. I agree. At the end of the day, it's about doing what's best for people and making sure that we are approaching these new discoveries responsibly. This has been a fascinating conversation. It's really amazing how much potential a single plant can have in the world of medicine.
It really is remarkable. And to think, for so long, tobacco has been seen as something so negative, something to avoid.
Right.
And this really challenges us to look at things from a new perspective.
It really does. It seems like we are on the verge of this whole new era in medicine where we are kind of turning back to nature and looking to plants, even plants like tobacco, for new ways to treat these diseases.
Absolutely. And what's really exciting is that there's still so much we don't know, so much left to discover in this area.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive into this unexpected world of tobacco's medical potential, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay, I'm all ears.
What if, and this is a big what if, we could take a plant like tobacco with all of its potential, the good and the bad, and harness that power for good? What if we could unlock the secrets of nature's medicine cabinet in a way that's both effective and safe for everyone?
That's the ultimate goal, isn't it? To use the power of nature to heal and improve lives. It's a journey of discovery, and it seems like we are really just at the beginning.
I love that. To our listeners, we encourage you to keep asking those questions, stay curious, and be open to the unexpected. The world of science is full of surprises, and who knows, the future of medicine could be found in the most unexpected places. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.